Hi and welcome to ZwiaAndPals. Lately on the internet there has been a bit of a controversy over whether or not Batman vs Superman is a good movie. And the answer is very clearly... it's good and it's bad in so many ways. Each. It has so many good things, so many bad things. And I guess you would expect that from a movie that's entire premise is built on a question that nerds have been fighting about for years. Who would win in a fight, Batman or Superman? Now, historically, in most every single fight they have ever had, Batman usually wins.
In all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
But almost every single one of those times, it was for kind of bullshit reasons. One of the greatest examples is from Dark Knight Returns, one of the two stories that Batman vs Superman is very clearly based off of. But the story is very different. See, a key component of Dark Knight Returns is that Batman and Superman have known each other for years. They're old. And now Superman is part of the government, taking orders from the president, and Batman is a very stubborn old vigilante. Superman is forced to bring down Batman, but there's a bitterness there because they both have years of friendship behind them. So Superman doesn't go at Batman at full power. If Superman wanted to, he would destroy Batman, but he doesn't in this situation. And that's the case with most fights between Batman and Superman. Is Batman going all out, trying to pull every single trick out of his ass, and Superman being like, I don't want to kill you, I don't have to, please find another way for us to work this out, or he has some sort of mind control, and usually something about the mind control is slowing him down. But it's very rare you see a full-powered Superman that wants to beat the crap out of Batman. And when you do, Batman will be the first to admit it. He's fucked.
We won't stop him. He's pissed off. We have to talk to him.
So anytime there's this, oh, who would win, Batman versus Superman? The answer is Superman. Superman will win. I don't care how much preparation time it is. Batman himself has admitted it. If it weren't for multiple factors, he would lose against Superman every time. Nothing against Batman, but Superman's gonna win. Anyway, Dark Knight Returns, like I said, they are friends. They don't want to fight. There's a reason why they're able to go toe-to-toe with each other, besides Batman nuking Superman and shooting him with kryptonite dust and a whole list of things that he did to him. But there's a reason they're able to go toe-to-toe, because Superman's going easy on him. I was worried about Batman versus Superman because they do not have that friendship built up going into the movie. They don't know each other. So there's less reason for Superman to go easy on Batman, so they have to find some sort of bullshit to make it that Superman and Batman would be a fair fight. And that's the first thing I want to compliment this movie on. They found that bullshit. Now, it's not, oh, they have to duke it out, but they don't want to because they're friends. It's Superman doesn't want to, spoiler, because he's being blackmailed. And when I saw it and realized they did that, I was like, whoa, you just gave a great reason for them to be fighting, but Superman not to be fighting at full strength. And that alone made the movie believable for me, as far as an alien fighting an old guy in a bat suit can be believable. When it comes to the rest of the movie, though, and everything I want to say, there's so much. Like, this is how I figured my review would be going into my review. I was just like, oh, I'm going to be talking about how I thought it was going to be like this, and either they fucked it up or they did great. And they did good. But there's so much more to say. So much so that I have created a small list of the good things and the bad things about this movie, because I want to be fair about it. The first good thing on my list is the acting. Not necessarily the acting, but the actors are great for their roles. I think every single one of them, for the most part, looks solid in their suits. And, I mean, Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, she's fantastic and sassy in the small amount of times that you see her. She brings like a personality to the character, which is great. Ben Affleck, I mean, people shit on him when was announced, but I always thought he was pretty solid for the role. I could see him being a Bruce Wayne party boy. I can see him being a badass. He's much more badass, less Bruce Wayne in this movie, but he's great. He does some killing, which is weird, but for the most part, he's fantastic. The directing, Zack Snyder forever has always been a visual director since 300, Watchmen, Sucker Punch. His movies consistently look gorgeous. His trailers are always good. He is the type of director that every frame of his movies, you can freeze frame at any second in any of his movies and it's going to be a wallpaper. It is going to be a gorgeous shot. He knows what he's doing when it comes to visuals. The music is great. This shouldn't be any surprise. The music was, it's Hans Zimmer, I think. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. The music's fantastic, especially when Wonder Woman shows up. The music gets badass. It's amazing. The action, for the most part, is pretty decent. There is not much action in this movie. It's a 2.5 hour long movie. There's not that much action. And the first real pieces of action aren't for like an hour and a half into the movie, but when it's there, it's really good. Until the end. The end, it gets a little CGI and a little difficult to see what's going on. But until then, action's great. You've never seen Batman fight like this ever before, live action, and it's amazing. He's just throwing people left and right and just moving so fluidly and fast. And this is like the Batman fighting that we deserve and we need, and it's beautiful. But these are things we should expect from Snyder. These are his strong suits. And one of the last things I have to say is the Batmobile is really badass. Seeing the Batmobile going through, it goes into this lake at one point, and it's just a cool shot. I want to live in the Batcave because it's kind of badass. Unfortunately, that's mostly all I have to say that's good about it. There's a lot that's wrong. There's a lot that's bad about this movie. And you're going to have people that are going to shit on this movie no matter what, and you're going to have people that are going to back up this movie no matter what, and that's fair. I greatly enjoyed the movie. I loved watching it. I sat there, I was attentive the whole time, and I was like, hey, this is good. Having said that, I had people that were with me that fell asleep through the movie. And when you have this much of an outcry of this movie's bad, you should listen to it because there's probably things that are wrong with it. Do I think it deserves a 30% Rotten Tomatoes? No. I'd say it's more of a C. And here's a couple of things that I didn't like about it. And real quick, to give an example of just the sheer boredom that a lot of people had in the theater, I was there opening night. Usually, when a big reveal happens in a movie, the audience will go crazy and they'll be like, oh, there's Spider-Man, all right? We're watching the movie right before it starts, the trailer for Civil War goes, and Spider-Man shows up, and the crowd goes crazy. That's a big deal. Spider-Man's there, everyone's really pumped. And I knew what shots to look out for Wonder Woman appearing. And she pops up, arms, blocking, and it's a beautiful, glorious moment. And the audience was silent. And no one screamed, no one freaked out. And I'm like, and that's saying something when the audience isn't pumped. This is like 2.5 hours in, well, 10 minutes into the movie, and no one cares. And I think that's because the movie drags on. Zack Snyder's great with visuals, but plot-wise, he's not consistent for having concise plots that aren't just ridiculous and over the top. This movie goes like an hour and a half before any fights happen, and then when one of the first fights you see is Batman versus Superman, and that fight is like 3 minutes long, and then it's like, oh, cool, I came here for that, and you basically saw most of it in the trailer. Until then, you're stuck sitting with this convoluted plot that really, when you dissect it, the more you look at it, the less it makes sense. Like, someone's trying to get Batman and Superman to fight and not have trust in each other, even though Batman already doesn't have trust in Superman, and then they duke it out, and Batman already didn't like Superman. They were going to fight. Was it going to be to the death? No, probably not. But still, it was these, and then if that doesn't work, Doomsday's gonna be there, but there's no real way to control Doomsday, and he goes and Lex Luthor wants to get this kryptonite, but he actually wants Batman to get it, and it's just like, it's just needlessly complicated while still being super simple. And complicated's fine. You can have a complicated plot and you can have a serious plot. You know, this is a movie that's very serious. There is one joke in the movie, and when they said that joke, I immediately turned to the people sitting next to me and was like, oh, they make a joke. There was a joke there. That was a huge deal when I saw that joke. And it was a joke made by Batman of all people, where I'm just like, oh, okay, joke. This was a long movie, and it felt like each of these plot points was thrown in there, and you didn't get a chance to see how anyone would react. And then there would be times of just sitting around and they would waste time on things you don't care about, like Superman's dad building a pile of rocks in the Arctic, and you're like, okay, I don't give a shit about this. And there were so many conversations that are just so drawn out and so like trying to be so philosophical, and you ever see like people that like want to look smart, so they're just talking a lot but they're not saying anything. And that's a lot of this movie, where you're just kind of like, okay, why do I care? And then you realize that there's another half hour that they cut out of this movie at least. So like they cut things out, and you feel it, because a lot of the like important points are so bare bones, and there's so many things they don't touch on, and yet there's so much stuff that's just like, it sits on it. And I get it's for like artistic reasons. It's just unneeded. It's that kind of stuff that's rough, and I think those type of things are what draw people away from this. I truly feel that the people that like it are there thinking like, oh, the action, and you get to see Batman be a detective and Batman be badass and Superman, all this other stuff. And then the people that don't like it are like, yeah, but if you look at the plot, it doesn't make sense. I mean, why does Lex Luthor hate Superman? They don't really answer it. They allude to reasons. They don't answer it. You kind of just get, oh, he's like this rich kid with, he just, no one knows. It doesn't touch on it. And there's so many other like little things that just kind of, you don't know where they come from. Or how come everyone seems to know each other's identities? When did they get to learn each other's identities? Like, Superman finds out that Batman's Bruce Wayne. We don't really see how. There are ideas of how, but we don't see how. Bruce figures out who Superman is. We don't know how. We have an idea of how. Bruce figures out who Wonder Woman is. We don't know how, but like, he knows she's special at one point, and then he knows he's Wonder Woman, and then Lex knows all these things, and like, they all have information on each other, but you don't figure out, when did these things happen? I have so many other questions that are just like, okay, like for those of you that watched the movie, how far away is Gotham to Metropolis in the movie? Because in the comics, I mean, Gotham is like in Jersey and Metropolis is like not. But apparently Gotham and Metropolis are like the Twin Cities, and they're just right next to each other over a harbor, and yet they make a point to tell you that Bruce Wayne never visits Metropolis, even though it's right over there. Just right over there. And it's like, if it's so far away that he can't visit, how come Amy Adams is able to just take a car over there within an hour to make it to the fight between Batman and Superman? It's just, why do they show Batman's parents dying and Batman's funeral for his parents? We should all know that Batman's parents died. They don't need to show that. But if they do need to show that because they're worried that people won't know about Batman's history, then how come at the same time they show the Robin outfit and never explain it? Or allude to Joker existing but never get into that? So they very much at points expect you to know things about Batman's history, but at the same time expect to have to explain things about Batman's history. That's nice. Thanks for picking and choosing what's important. Here's a fun one. Why is a jar of piss an important plot point? Why is that a thing? What is that? Why did that have to happen? I don't know. I just want you guys to know at home, a jar of piss was an important plot point in this movie, so if you feel like defending it, feel free to defend that. And I think one of the dumbest things of the entire movie, and this is a spoiler, is Martha. Batman and Superman fight and then stop fighting because they realize their mothers have the same name. And that means, well, we can be best friends now. Everything's great. I'm gonna go save your mom. And it's just thanks for that. That's amazing. Oh, God. The last thing I really had an issue with was Lex Luthor. I thought Jesse Eisenberg was terrible for that casting. I think Jesse Eisenberg is great for plenty of roles, and if you want an evil version of his take on social network guy, Facebook guy, then yeah, cool. But that's not Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is calculating. And yes, this Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, is very clearly smart and has a pretty crazy plan that works out for him, for the most part. But part of what makes the comic and show and all the other versions of Lex Luthor great is how clearly smart he is. But he doesn't need to, like, I don't know, the eccentricities, it's just like, I felt it took away from it, or it was like trying too hard to be maniacal. If people liked it, fine, but I do think most will agree that it's a weak part of the character, for the movie, is the character is a weak part. And it sucks because if you wrote that Lex Luthor exactly the same and casted someone else, someone a little more stern, and Bryan Cranston or Kevin Spacey, if you put those in, that role would have been amazing. You know, very Kingpin with Daredevil. But they didn't. Instead, we get...
Lois, I'm here to steal you away from Superman. I'm here to seduce you. This feels so good.
It's just not good. It was annoying more than scary or intimidating or interesting. It was just annoying. He seemed like a giant child.
All right, Batman, you asked for it. Pow.
Which didn't help with the fact that you have no idea why he's doing any of this. It was just, he just seemed like a brat. When Lex Luthor is someone that you should respect. He's terrifying and you know he's evil deep down, but a good Lex Luthor is someone where you're like, yeah, but I see this guy's point. This guy's a badass and he's terrifying. And this guy was just like, yeah, okay, cool, you did a bunch of stuff and got a bunch of people killed, but I still feel like I could kick your ass, so like, why should I care? It's an interesting take on it, I'll give you that, but it's not how I would have done it. But I'm also not making millions of dollars and making movies like that. So what do I know? And lastly, I want to touch on two spoilery things that I really liked. One, the only time that I actually got giddy in the entire movie and got excited and I was like, oh my god, when the Flash shows up time traveling to warn Batman about the future. Now, that future is very clearly a future with Darkseid in it, and I'm guessing Darkseid and Superman are teamed up, or something's going on with that, but it's a future with Darkseid, and the Flash goes and warns Bruce, and it's like, it's amazing to see that, because I didn't expect that. The other Justice League mentions and stuff, they're cute, they were unneeded, they took you out of the story, they were a waste of time, a waste of space. I didn't mind them, but they were forced, and as cool as they were really cool. The music was great. It was Iron Man 2 all over again, where it was just like, no, let's focus on the movie. I get that this is happening, but you could be more subtle. Come on. And the other thing I really appreciated was Doomsday. Spoiler, Superman dies. Because if we're going to reference a big comic in DC history, might as well reference the two biggest comics for each of the characters. Superman's death and Dark Knight Returns. Both of which are stories that DC has desperately been trying to get back ever since. They have, ever since Dark Knight Returns, made Batman a gritty character again. That's all they've wanted is, oh, let's make him dark and brooding and dark and brooding and dark and brooding. And then ever since they made Superman Returns, well, they just want Superman to be selling. I got really off topic there. I'm sorry. The thing I liked, they have Doomsday in this, and spoiler, Doomsday and Superman are known for killing each other. And usually, in the comics, they just punch each other really hard.
And then, Superman and Doomsday just punching each other in the middle of the street, just punching and punching.
And just beat the crap out of each other until they both are done. This movie got Superman to basically kill himself by grabbing a kryptonite spear, impaling it into Doomsday, and then getting himself impaled on Doomsday's hand thing. I just thought that was a better death. I mean, he comes back at the end. Also, why did the movie literally goes through like 5 different endings? Like, after that happened, they could have had like 2 scenes and I would have been like, alright, done. But then it goes like boom, 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 boom. And I'm just like, please, just finish the fucking movie. Anyway, it's a movie. Whether you see it or not, up to you. I have no intention of watching it in the theaters again. If you like it, I totally get it. If you don't like it, I totally get that too. I think it's worth seeing to make that opinion out for yourself, but if you never want to see the movie again, I honestly can't blame you. And I'm hoping that future installments of the DC universe get better. Because, let's face it, this was a franchise, this was a movie that was going to do well regardless, and I think what bothers people the most isn't whether it was bad or good, because I think most people will agree, hey, it's watchable. This had the potential to be the superhero movie. It could have been so much more. When you have such high expectations, and really, high expectations that should have been met, you have some great minds behind this with great characters and a classic story. When you have so much potential and you give us something that had a lot of issues and could have been so much more, I don't think people are upset because the movie's bad. I think they are upset because of what it could have been, and it could have been something great. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching all of this. I'm sure it was long. Please look into my Facebook channel to get more videos and subscribe to my YouTube, or don't. I don't care. I'm making these more to get more editing experience. So, night, and see you guys at the next one.